Welcome to This Explainer. Today we are diving deep into the absolute scientific crucible of Jonas Salk and his methodical quest to develop the first successful polio vaccine. If you've ever wondered exactly how one of the 20th century's most terrifying diseases was brought to its knees, well, you are in the right place. We're going to unpack the intense science, the massive struggles, and the totally staggering scale of this historic achievement.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're covering a scientist, not a doctor, the restrictive Pittsburgh laboratory, developing the killed virus vaccine, testing on a massive scale, and finally, refusing to patent the sun. Let's just jump right in.
Section 1. A scientist, not a doctor. To really get how this medical miracle happened, we got to start with what actually motivated the guy.
Listen to this quote because it perfectly captures his whole vibe. He famously said he didn't intend to just practice medicine. Even back in the super competitive halls of City College of New York and later NYU's med school, he wasn't interested in traditional one-on-one medical practice. His eyes were focused way out on the macro level. He wanted to help humankind in general.
And that big picture thinking sparked a massive epiphany during his last year of medical school. While working on the newly discovered flu virus, Salk helped prove something foundational. You could actually deliberately destroy a virus's ability to cause an infection, but still keep it intact enough to teach the human immune system how to fight it off. It's kind of like giving the body a mugshot of the bad guy without actually handing over a loaded weapon.
Section 2. The restrictive Pittsburgh laboratory. Fast forward a bit to 1947, when Salk packs up his ambition and moves out to Pittsburgh.
Now, you'd think a guy with Salk's vision would get the red carpet treatment, right? Nope. Total reality check. He arrives at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine and is basically shoved into this cramped, surprisingly tiny lab space. Plus, he is completely suffocated by highly restrictive university rules. But Salk wasn't going to let that stop him. He hustled, aggressively securing private grants from the Mellon family just so he could build a proper, functional virology lab right from the ground up.
Then, 1948 hits, and the trajectory of his life changes completely. He gets a call from Harry Weaver, the research director for the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis. Weaver offers Salk what he's been desperately needing: space, equipment, and researchers. The catch? He had to take on this massive, tedious project to determine exactly how many types of poliovirus were actually out there. Salk said yes, and man, the race was officially on.
Section 3. Developing the killed virus vaccine. Let's get into the actual technical magic here.
So how did he actually pull this off? It was a grueling, super methodical process. First, he builds a dedicated team, brilliant folks like Julius Younger and Byron Bennett. Step 2. They had to determine the types of the virus, essentially mapping out the enemy. Then came the true technical breakthrough, carefully chemically disarming the pathogen. Salk had to figure out how to render the poliovirus totally non-infectious without ruining its physical, structural identity, so the body would still recognize it as an invader.
This is what we call a killed virus vaccine. Salk was basically turning the deadliest virus of the era into a harmless training dummy. By injecting this inactivated or killed virus, the body's defenses could study it safely, build up an army of antibodies, and be fully prepared if the real, live poliovirus ever tried to invade.
But get this, not everyone agreed with this approach, and it triggered a massive scientific controversy. Salk stubbornly championed this killed virus method because he believed it was absolutely the safest route. Meanwhile, you had his contemporary, Albert Sabin, pushing for an oral vaccine, using live but weakened, active strains. It was a fundamental debate in virology, literally playing out on the world stage, with both guys fiercely defending their methods.
Section 4. Testing on a massive scale. Once he had the method locked in, he had to prove it actually worked. 2.5. That's 2.5 years of Salk and his team working absolutely nonstop. We are talking zero work-life balance here. It wasn't a normal 9 to 5. It was a brutal, all-consuming marathon to push this vaccine from animal testing to actual human viability.
And the timeline is just wild. In 1952, right after animal tests, Salk injected just 43 children at the D.T. Watson home. Then, and this really shows you how much absolute faith he had in his own science, in 1953 he literally vaccinated his own family. That set the stage for 1954, testing on over 1 million kids famously known as the polio pioneers. And finally, April 12, 1955, the world gets the news they had been praying for. The vaccine was safe and effective.
You really have to pause and look at the sheer scale of cooperation here because it is staggering.
We're talking 1.8 million school children, 100 million people donating to the March of Dimes, 7 million civilian volunteers, 20,000 physicians and health officers. This wasn't just a win for scientific rigor. It was the most unprecedented public mobilization program of its kind in history.
Section 5. Refusing to patent the sun. The rollout was incredible, but what happens next is pure legend. Right after the vaccine's success was announced to a totally jubilant world, television legend Ed Murrow sits down with Salk. During the broadcast, Murrow looks right at him and asks the giant, pointed question about the rights to this world-changing discovery. Who owns this patent?
Now, to put this in perspective for you, experts run the numbers and calculate that if Salk had patented the vaccine, it would have been worth an estimated $7 billion. $7 billion? Now sure, lawyers from the National Foundation actually did look into patenting it and realized prior art might have made it unpatentable anyway. But the point is, Salk literally never had any intention of monetizing this.
His response to Murrow? Well, the people, I would say. There is no patent. Could you patent the sun? I mean, wow. By giving away the greatest medical breakthrough of the century for free, he guaranteed that getting it to as many people as possible globally, not corporate profit, was the priority. Within a few short years, his vaccine reached about 90 countries, effectively changing the course of human history.
But Salk didn't just pack up and retire after curing polio. He spent the rest of his life fighting for universal vaccination as a profound moral duty. In 1963, he founded the Salk Institute in California, building this incredible collaborative environment for molecular and cellular biology. He even dedicated his later years to researching an HIV vaccine. He was also a huge believer in biophilosophy, this really fascinating idea that biological knowledge actually provides analogies for understanding human nature and solving social problems.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with Salk's own thought-provoking question. Are we prepared to be the co-authors with nature of our destiny? It's a huge challenge, right? It reminds us that human ingenuity, when you pair it with absolute selfless dedication to the greater good, has the power to literally rewrite our future. So are we ready for that responsibility? Thanks so much for joining me to explore the incredible science and legacy of Jonas Salk. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next one.